So just a little bit more on inputs with the long gun. So any amount of pressure that we put onto the gun, as best as we possibly can, we want to put the multi-directional pressure on the gun. So think of it like we're putting it in a vise as best as we can, and we're going to minimize how much the gun is going to drift left or right based on the target that we intend to shoot. All right, so when we lean into the gun, we talked a little bit how the base is established, so the position of balance, less about my foot needs to be 3 inches left, my right foot needs to be 4 inches right. It's not about that. It's really about being in balance and athletic with a little bend in the knees as we grab onto the earth. Think of it like our feet have talons and we want to dig into the earth. And then as we bring the firearm, the whole position of the muscle groups towards the firearm, we want to engage the lat muscles. As we think about engaging the lat muscles, we're going to put more pressure with the larger muscle groups as opposed to relying on the smaller muscle groups to maintain and control this firearm. So when we talk about inputs with the support hand, for example, me personally, I like to have my thumb forward. There are other guys out there who really like a C-clamp grip where the elbow is going to flare a little bit and they've got a good purchase onto the forend of the gun. And with this C-like motion, hence C-clamp grip, it's also creating a C-clamp grip with the upper body. So you can imagine this is a big C. So there's pressure coming from the support hand, both from the grip, but also the forearm and the shoulder. So some people like a C-clamp grip. Me personally, I like a vertical foregrip because you can beat the snot out of people with these, right? So if you're going into a tight space, you assess the hands, the person doesn't have a firearm, but they're non-compliant or actively resisting, you can use this thing to really convince them otherwise. So that's why I like it. Over to you. But back to grip from this position. So firearms locked into the shoulder as we lean into the gun a little bit in this direction with the master hand shoulder. We're also pulling with the support, the master hand pistol grip. We're pulling the gun into our shoulder. So we talked about that a little bit. The inputs I believe are sometimes overlooked is what we're doing with the support hand. So sometimes we'll muscle the gun a little bit, and when the gun starts to drift, if it's consistent that our shot placement is moving off to the right, two things could be causing that. One, not enough shoulder roll, and two, we're maybe a little bit too aggressively pushing with the support hand. Conversely or counterintuitively, as we think about guiding the gun rather than pulling the gun, what you'll notice is the input is going to be more inward and less about lateral movement. So when we fire a series of rounds here, I just want you to pay attention to the muzzle and watch how the muzzle will move a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is fire 5 rounds with not a lot of input from this support hand. And if we look at the shot placement, everything is in relative line, straight up and down, which means I'm not putting a lot of influence on the support hand. I just told you that. I literally had a relaxed grip with my support hand, not really influencing at all. Now we're going to put a little bit of pressure with the support hand, but I want to pull the gun with a firm grip with my support hand. Not over muscling it, but I'm pulling it in with a nice firm grip. So once again, I get the gun into position. Now I've got a little bit more of a purchase with my support hand. I'm going to lean into the gun, open up the hips a little bit. And then what you'll notice when you look at the target is the group is a lot tighter. All right, so yes, the first group that I did of 5 rounds, so that first string of 5 rounds, very little influence with the support hand at all. Almost no grip at all. Just really just had it kind of resting there. The second one, put a little bit more muscle into the support hand, and then the group is considerably tighter. So these are what we're talking about when we're talking about influencing pressures onto the gun. Yes, the master hand shoulder is involved, and it should be involved. One thing I haven't talked about yet is barrel sight relationship is in relation to how high, or height over bore, how high the red dot is in relation to where the bullet is flying out of the gun. Well, that's all fine and dandy. And you know, if people want to run high risers, for example, that's fine and dandy. Just think about the cheek well needs to be risen as well. So the reason I mention that is a reference point when I bring the firearm to my eye is that cheek. So I want to feel contact on the cheek well of the buttstock. All right, that's important. If there's no space there, the gun will find that space and it will move into those spaces. So making contact, although subtle, you don't have to, put a crease in your cheek, but you do want to make contact with the buttstock. Okay, so we've got 3 pieces of pressure that we're talking about consistently. This is the consistent piece: buttstock, master hand, shoulder, support hand, master hand, and then cheek well. All right, so those are your 3. So 1, 2, 3. Cheek well, buttstock, fore-end. These are what we're after as we release the shot. It's going to help manage the recoil so the gun is not drifting left and right.